So, yeah, we are discussing about DRF data replication framework. So, as part of the data replication framework, there are two steps are there which we need to complete. The first one is define business system. Okay, so define business system. So this define business system is to whatever the system that you are going to send the master data, that system you need to represent in your MDG system, right? So that's how you consider it as your target system. So that's the step about this define business system. And the second step is define replication model. Replication model. Okay, so we are at the first step. Okay, so if you look at whatever we discussed, right? So we created some business systems in the. So for the DRF, it will be always you can go to MDG IMG data replication settings, data replication. So you can see here define custom settings for data replication. So this is the one. Technical settings for the business system. So this is what I mean to say, define business system. So we are defining the technical settings for the business system. So if you go to this particular configuration, so we created two target systems. Like you can click on new and you can create a target system. So this is a name that you can provide any free text. Actually, we provide some meaningful name so that everyone can understand. Okay. So, but this is what your actual technical name of the system. So this technical name will be provided by basis. Okay. So where they define these logical systems, I showed you that transaction code, a sale. There is a T code called sale. Okay. Here in the basic settings, there is a something called define logical system. Okay. Here you can define the logical systems. We won't be having this authorization. Basis will be creating this logical system names in this one, right? So that's how you get this two systems, target one and target two. So you can actually create your target systems over here, and you can also create basis will provide you the logical system names, and you can keep the logical system names over here. Okay. So after this, RFC destination we'll talk about later, and even logical file path also we can talk about later. Okay, I'll explain. I'll come back to this one. Okay, so once you define your business system, if you go further down, we can specify what are the master data that you are going to replicate to this particular target system. That means here, let's say, for example, you have this is your MDG. Let me take a new one. Okay, here, let's say, for example, this is your MDG system, and this is your target one, and this is your target two. Okay, now these we define it as a business systems. These are the business systems. Okay, now you are going to replicate the master data to these two target systems. Okay, so now what master data you wanted to replicate to this target system? That means like or BP or customer. So likewise, you need to mention here also for T2 target system, I wanted to replicate BP, customer, vendor. So I wanted to replicate all these ones. So that's how you can actually mention here what master data you are going to replicate to this particular target system. So you need to list down the business object types. Okay. Now, after this, once this is done, select each master data and go further down. Okay. So here, the data that can be replicated from MDG to these systems, the SAP provided, there are four ways, four techniques in the backend we can use to transfer the data from one system to other system. From MDG point of view, one technique is IDOC technique. The other one is SOVA via SOVA. The other one is RFC. Okay. Another one is file-based. So these are the four techniques that we use in general to replicate the data from MDG to target systems, or from the target system source system to MDG. Okay. So these are the techniques. Now IDOC setting, how to set up that end-to-end IDOC. Ideally, any SAP consultant should be able to do this one, IDOC configuration. Okay, so that is the expectation. There is no functional or technical. So in most of the projects, functional will be doing these configurations. So if they are not comfortable, if technical people also can do this one. Okay, it's a standard configuration IDOC thing. Okay, which I will explain. Maybe once we complete this DRF thing, I will explain how to set up this IDOC how to set up the IDOC setup between two systems. Okay, so that I will explain what are the steps are involved. SOVA configuration, we don't do. Basis will be doing that SOVA configuration. We don't do anything at all. Okay, Basis will be setting up this SOVA configuration. RFC and file base we'll talk about little later. Most commonly used techniques are IDOC and SOVA replications. At least I never saw that RFC replication till now from MDG, at least in last 9 years or 10 years. So this SAP provided this option, but this is not at all a priority one for us. Okay, our focus should be between IDOC and SOVA only, and which option we need to choose between these two things, that also we will discuss. Okay, for now, what is important is our focus will be on setting up this configuration. Okay, for this configuration, we will use IDOC or SOVA in the backend. That's what we need to choose here. IDOC replication using or SOVA replication. Okay, so once you do this IDOC or SOVA replication, okay, so the next important point that we have here is key mapping. Okay, you can see there are some settings related to key harmonization, update key mapping. Okay, so this we haven't discussed in the just stopped over here. Okay, so from the business system point of view, we created one business system, we list down the objects that we wanted to replicate, and for each object, what is the communication channel, we listed down over here. Okay, so any questions till now? Okay, if no questions till now, so it's a very simple thing. You define one business.
Actually, one clarification here. So example, after you define, say example, we have one MDG system, many target system, right? So like, is it a immediate replication or is it a batch process? Or some client, they wanted only like, immediate replication. Some clients, they want like, for the batch replication. What are the possible options available?
Okay. By default, it will be immediate replication. By default,
okay.
We call it as a real-time replication. As soon as your change request gets activated and the data moved from your staging area to the active area, automatically your replication gets triggered. Okay, so that is one. Okay, that is the default option. But now you have a requirement, hey, I wanted to stop I wanted to replicate, like, in a batch mode or at regular intervals, not near real time kind of thing, right? So what are the options that we have? I'll explain that options.
For automatic replication, we will use IDOC only or SOVA?
No, SOVA, everything automatic replication. That's what I'm saying. By default, it's automatic replication.
Okay, we can also do that periodic intervals through IDOC and SOVA? Or?
Yeah, that we can do periodic intervals. That's what I'll explain it later, because let's focus on this one. And once this is done, make a note of your question. I will explain how if at all we want, by default, it's a real-time replication, automatic, but how you can actually stop that and replicate at regular intervals or in a controlled manner, that I will explain it. Okay. For now, just make a note, even if I forget, maybe once before completion of this topic, you can, towards end of this topic, you can ask me the question again. Okay.
So I'm out of question actually. So you said like, RFC and file may not be used actually in any of our MDG project, but most of them are IDOC and SOVA, right? So my question is, which domain is feasible option to use SOVA and which domain?
That's what I mentioned. We will also discuss on that. Okay. Let's take example of business partner. For business partner, we prefer SOVA replication. Okay, but for material master, we prefer mostly IDOC replication, and there are some reasons out there. Okay, also depends on your target systems as well. Sometimes for vendor master, we prefer IDOC also. So in what cases, which option we choose, that also requires some discussion. It's not like a one standard rule across for all the projects. Depends on your current landscape settings and everything. We have to choose the options. So that's where I'll again explain that. I'll come back to that point once we complete these two setups.
Sure.
Okay. Yeah, your question is valid, but I'll take that once we complete these both setting configurations. Okay.
Okay.
Yeah. Any other questions? Because I wanted to explain this key mapping functionality in the replication, it plays a major role. Of course, technically from the functional side, what we will be doing is you can just enable or disable, that's it. But what happens if you enable and what happens if you disable, I wanted to give some background about that key mapping stuff.
So one clarification that is not relevant to immediate this topic actually, because some of the MDG project where they use, for a global cross-reference table also. Since we have the key mapping and everything, do we really need that the cross-reference table in place, Akshay?
What is cross-reference table?
One second. Cross-reference table means like, suppose if you are receiving any external, information, like for vendor, Exostar or some other, interface is coming from Exostar through BTP into MDG. Like, say, example, payment terms comes from them is like, NT00, but in SAP it should be 001.
Yeah, understood that one. That part of the value mapping configuration, that also
Value mapping.
after key mapping, we have a topic called value mapping. So there I will explain that.
Okay, but it is not necessary to use, like, what is your experience on that? We don't need to use that cross-reference for across all other interfaces, right?
SAP in MDG, there is a concept called value mapping.
Value mapping, right? Okay.
So if you have any requirement where in the source or somewhere you are having one code and in MDG you have a different code, when you are getting the data into MDG, replicating the data from MDG to the target system, you need to form the code into the system format. That can be handled using the value mapping configuration.
That is based on your experience. You never see that the cross-reference table needs to be there, like, in MDG.
No. In MDG, we always go with value mapping configuration.
Value mapping. Okay, thank you.
Okay, I'll come back to that one as well.
Sure. Okay, thank you.
Fine.
Bye.
Now coming back to key mapping scenario. What is a key mapping in general? You take example. Let's say, for example, this is one of the common problem that because we are dealing here with multiple systems. Okay, so what is that multiple systems? So let's say, for example, this is your MDG system, and you have your target 1 and target 2. Okay, so you created a material here. Material number is 100. Okay, and when you are replicating this material to this particular target system, what is the material number that you are expecting in the target system? You are replicating this material number, this material to the target system. So what would be the material number in the target system?
Ideally, the same number.
Okay, fine. So it can replicate with 100.
Anything else too, like, same number or any other external number too, right?
Exactly.
Any
You're 100% right. Okay.
mappings or something to be done.
Yeah. So let's say, for example, this is one case, or else it can create a material with 200 also. So both are possible. When it will create with 100, okay? So from MDG side, when you're replicating the data in the target system, right? In the target system, you have two options. The options are either you create material with the same material number that is coming from your MDG or also any other system. Okay. That means in the target system, the number range should be configured as an external number range. When you configure it as an external number range, then what happens is whatever comes from the MDG, the same number system will create material with the same number in target system. Okay, so this is one case. The other case, if for the same material here, if it configured it as the internal number range in the target system, that means system will ignore whatever the material number that you are sending 100. It will create its own material with its own number, right? So Material is same, but the numbers are different. All other properties are same. That means in my target system, the same material will be represented with 200 and in MDG it will be represented with 100. So these two cases can be possible. This is a general basic behavior in SAP. Okay, so when you're creating any objects, right, you have that number range set up. Okay, for materials, for customers, vendors, for any document, for anything that gets created in the SAP, so there will be some number range. So when you need to assign a number range. When you're assigning a number range, you have two options. Either you can consider it as an external number or internal number. If you set for material master, it's as an external number. So whatever MDG sends with the same number in target system, material will get created. If you configure it as an internal number in the target system, system will ignore whatever is coming from MDG. It will create its own material number. Okay, so this is the basic principles of SAP. Okay, we are not talking about any MDG specific thing. It's a general behavior of SAP. Okay, now what is the challenge that I have with these two things in MDG if I'm introducing MDG? Okay, one is if we are using this external number range concept in the target system. Let's take example. In my T1 target system, I am using external number range configuration. That means it will create a material with 100 only. It will create material with 100 only. Okay, because I configured it as the external number. But this T2 is another system which is already there, legacy system. Okay, in this particular system, already they configured long back as internal numbers. Internal number range only. Okay, that means I cannot replace because of MDG to an external number range. This one. These guys, they don't accept that you take your headache, MDG headache. But in my system, I cannot change the number range. That means here it represented as an internal number range. That means if I'm sending the same 100 here, it will create with a different material number. Is this clear to everyone? What is the scenario that we are talking?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yes.
Now, what is the challenge? The challenge is.
So here legacy system means this is target system only, right?
Yeah, legacy means this is one of the transaction system that is already existing one.
Okay.
Okay. So now when this is how the material got created. In MDG, it created with 100. In target one, the same material got created with 100, same number, but in T2 system, it created with 200. Now, creation is fine. There is no issue. But when I'm sending any updates for the same material, I'm doing some updates in my MDG system. I'm changing, adding some more plants or some more information. So this time, once the CR got activated, so this 100 material will go to the target system. In the target system, already 100 material is already there. So this will consider it as an update scenario, and your changes, the new changes will get updated against this 100 material number, which is fine. But when the same changes also has to reflect to your T2 system. But when this 100 material reaches to T2 target system doesn't know against which material they have to update this data, these changes, because here it's an internal number. So there is no 100 material in T2. The 100 itself is called as 200 here. So system doesn't know. In your IDOC or in your server service, it doesn't know that, okay, it has to go and update 200 material number. That's where what system will do when you're sending with 100, because 100 is not there, it will try to create a 201, another new, it will consider it as a new material, and it will create another material, which is wrong, right? So that's where your key mapping come into picture. Key mapping come into picture. Okay, so you look at this scenario. Your material numbers in MDG and in the target system are same. That means this scenario, we call it as a harmonized scenario. Harmonized. Harmonized means your material numbers in source and target system are harmonized. Those are same material numbers. Okay, but here in your T2 system, between MDG and T2 system, your material numbers are not same. It's different. That means you need to enable the key mapping. what does this key mapping will do? Okay, so you need to understand how it works exactly, your key mapping. See, doing the configuration is very, very simple, straightforward, but you need to understand the concept. Okay, then only it will, when to enable the key mapping, when to, not to enable the key mapping, all those things are very clear to us. Okay, now let's take, when you activate the key mapping functionality in MDG between MDG system and T2 system, okay, so there will be some table or bunch of tables. Okay, so there will be some bunch of tables with respect to key mapping. SAP standard SAP itself provided those tables. You cannot see those tables directly, but there is an application provided from where you can see. So what is the significance of this particular table? Okay, in this table, you have the fields, something called business system. Okay, and then the ID. ID is nothing but your object number. Okay, so this is fine. Now what happens when you create a new material number 100, and then when this material went to T2 target system, and in the so during your outbound scenario, system will make an entry here. BS means your business system. Your MDG is nothing but one of the business system. In MDG, my material number is 100. Okay, it just made an entry into your key mapping table. During your outbound scenario, system knows that the material number that got created in MDG. So there is an entry into this particular table. Business system is MDG, the key is 100. Okay, now the IDOC or whatever the SOVA request went to target system. In the target system, the material got created. What is the material number? 200. Now, how do I know this table exists in MDG system? Okay, now I should know the material number of the target system. For that one, this T2 target system will send one acknowledgement back to MDG system. If this IDOC gets processed successfully in the target T2 target system, then as a response, this T2 target system will send a response back to MDG. What that response contains in the response means basically the material number of the target system 200. That response comes back to MDG. Okay, now during this response gets posted in MDG, system will make another entry. Okay, what is the target system? T2. And what is the key that got created? 200. So likewise, your key mapping entry will be maintained automatically. It will get updated in MDG system. Now MDG knows corresponding to 100 material, what is the material number in T2 target system. Let's say, for example, T1 target system also using internal number range, and you wanted to maintain the keys as well. So if you enable the key mapping between MDG and T1 target system, there will be one more entry added over here, T1, and the key, maybe the material number is 300. So likewise, how many target systems are there? From those target systems, the response will come back to MDG. So in the response carries the object that got created in target system, and accordingly it will automatically update the key in your key mapping table. Now you have MDG material number and target T2 target system material number. Both are there with you. Okay. Now this is what it happens in your creation scenario. Now what happens? Some user logged into MDG. They modified some attributes for 100 material number, and they activated the CR. This time what happens? Automatically, as we discussed, automatically your replication gets triggered. So during this time, because key mapping settings are already enabled in your DRF settings, system, before sending the data to the target to system, first system will come to this table. In this table, it will look that, okay, corresponding to 100, I'm replicating the data to T2 target system. Is there any entry maintained here? If there is an entry maintained over here, what is that entry? 200. So in your outbound IDOC, system will replace 100 material number with 200. So in your outbound IDOC itself, system will replace this value.
Hey, you know, ZaranTech now offers SAP corporate training? That's right. Train your workforce in SAP with our comprehensive program. We offer customized courses, certified trainers, and hands-on labs for both individuals and businesses. Our standout features? Bespoke training, fully configured servers for practice, in-house materials, and a dedicated LMS. Plus, get session recordings and 24/7 support. From functional to technical modules, we have got it all. Choose ZaranTech for SAP training and watch your team excel. Learn, upskill, succeed with ZaranTech.
Okay, that means when this IDOC reaches to T2 target system, you will see in the number as 200, not the 100. So because 200 is already there, system will consider it as an update scenario and it will update this record. Clear?
So the key mapping table maintained for MDG 100, T2, 200, that I understood. But the thing where you said IDOC will carry out the instead of 100, 200 number to target system.
Okay,
So
this portion.
That portion. Yeah.
Okay, so that's what I'm trying to say here. During your update scenario, see, because key mapping is already enabled, when it's a functionality, when key mapping is already enabled, system will go and look, it will have a look into your key mapping table. For 100 material, system will look up, is there any key maintained for T2 target system? This is one set. This is one set. In this set, you have 100 material number and system will pick up from here the corresponding material number is 200. So it will pick up this 200 material number and in your outbound IDOC, system will replace the values. 100 will be replaced with 200 in the IDOC value. Your material number will be replaced 100 with 200 and that 200 will be sent as a material number to your target to system.
But here what my question is, so here in key mapping table, it is noting down only when the replication successfully done from MDG to target 2 system, then only target 2 system sending 200 number to the MDG.
Yes,
so in
this
that
is
case,
part of your create scenario. So this is part of your create scenario. So during your create, system will already, the material number got created successful in the T2 target system. As a response, system will send the acknowledgement response. That in the response, it contains 200. That's how this 200 entry will be maintained here. Okay, this is done. After this, we are talking about the update scenario.
Got it, actually. Yeah, thank you.
So Akshay,
Yeah.
so we used to share the information to the users. For example, I am MDG user, I mean I'm MDG consultant, and I need to communicate with the ECC, I mean SAP system guy. So whenever I want to mention a material, I used to say 100.
Yes.
So he will search for that same 100 in the SAP system, but the SAP system will not find that 100, right?
Exactly.
So how matching will be done? So how can we communicate with the people?
Yes. Question is very, very valid because if you are using the harmonized scenario, you don't get into that situation or that kind of issue because the same material number used across all the systems between MDG and the target systems. So they can tell your MDG material number, they will search with the same material in the target system. That is fine. But when it comes to key mapping, when if at all you are communicating this to some persons on the business persons on the T2 system or the target system, right? You need to mention that, hey, this is the material number in MDG and this is the material number in your target system. So how do I know this material number in the target system? That's what I mentioned. There is an application. I will show you that application. So in that application, system will show that this table data in a proper structured manner. Here we are talking about only T2 target system, but in reality, let's say you have 5 target systems. If I open that application, if I enter my material number with the MDG material number, it will give me the material numbers of all the target systems. So that's how I will know that the material number of the target system, and I can communicate that to the business users. So this you have to do it.
we will get the instant results.
Yeah, immediately. It's an UI. You can directly go and you can search. For now, we will go through this one. But if you go to NWBC, okay, it will meanwhile. So that is a key mapping thing, because we need to understand how the data gets stored. Why? Because let's say, for example, if your response, the response that is coming from T2 target system to MDG system, if this response gets failed, okay, because it's a bidirectional. From MDG, you send the outbound IDOC or SOA to T2 system. As a response, this T2 will send the data back to your MDG system. If the response gets failed, you never see this T2 target system entry in the key mapping table. Then what happens after that? If someone is modifying this material, because there is no entry found in this table, system will you keep the same value, same 100. It will send with the same 100. But in the T2 target system, there is no 100 material. It will try to create a new material, 201. Okay, so that's why we need to understand this both the flows, and it is very, very important during as part of the production support. We need to ensure that all the responses are posting successfully or not. I will show you the T codes where we will check, but we need to ensure for every outbound request, there should be a response back if at all you are using a key mapping. Okay, now if you come back to this data in the same NWBC material governance homepage, if you scroll down data replication, there is something called search key mapping. So using this application, you can search the keys of the target system. You can search with anyone. Let's say, for example, in this example, if you search with the T2 business system T2 and material number 200, it will give you the result of your MDG material number. If you search with MDG material number, it will give you the result of this one.
Vice versa.
Yeah. Okay. So any questions on this key mapping?
So yes, as a functional guys, we have to provide some guidance to the end users, right? So then how we can guide, like how they can manage the systems between the MDG to target, how they can manage this, like for internal number range.
No, why? This is a functional consultant will do the configuration, right?
Correct. Then we have to provide some supporting document or some guidance to them, right? To use the MDG system to the client.
Exactly. So that there will be a training, right? User training. In the user training, you will explain this. If if you enable the key mapping and the same business users also wants to log into MDG and they wanted to search their materials and everything, you need to train them how to use this search key mapping. How to find if you have the target system material number with you, how to get the material number of MDG, that you need to guide them. You need to train them. So that's where actually SAP provided this link. So
okay, in the NWBC itself, we have that option. Okay, fine.
That's what I'm showing here.
Yeah. Okay, actually.
Fine. So in general, basically, what is a key mapping? Okay, so when you are sending because we are dealing with multiple systems here. Okay, so master data is replicating or flowing across all the systems in the landscape. In some projects, in some customer side, so the same object, same material number or same customer number, they will be using across all the landscapes. That is a harmonized scenario. There is no issue at all with that harmonized scenario. You can blindly forget about key mapping thing because it's the same key everywhere. But when it comes to the systems or the landscape, where some systems are using some internal number ranges and your MDG is using a different one, so then there will be a mismatch of your material numbers. It will never match. That's where SAP provided key mapping functionality in MDG. Okay, so now in the key mapping functionality, if at all you wanted to use the key mapping functionality, it is your business specific setting. Sorry, your system specific setting. For T1 system, you can simply ignore key mapping thing not defined. That means By default, system will assume it's the same keys, not defined means. Okay. Or for the T2 target system, you wanted to enable the key mapping. If at all you wanted to enable the key mapping thing, what are the things that we need to do? One is when you're defining your business system and key mapping has to be enabled between MDG and this business system, you need to select here key mapping. Just select this option. Okay. And along with this one, you also need to tick this checkbox. Update key mapping. That means when the response coming from target system to MDG, we need the system, that response should get updated into your key mapping table. That's why update keyM. So both should go together. Key mapping here plus here update key mapping. Okay, both. If you enable these two things like this to this particular target system, system will enable the key mapping for material master. This is again object specific. For the other object to the same target system, you are also replicating along with the material, you are replicating customer or vendor or something else. For that one, if you don't need the key mapping, don't enable it for that combination, business system and material object combination. So it's a combination between your business system and your object.
One question actually. So since it's a material, number range might be differ for for raw material and semi-finished products and service material and things like that, right?
Yes.
So is there any other way where we can just define the key mapping in some other place, or how it will work?
This is the only place, and we cannot activate it based on material types. What you can activate key mapping, it's your target system and object specific, one material. If you're activating key mapping, this will be for all the material types, not only certain material types.
We cannot restrict based on material type or payments or anything, right? Incoterms and all. Okay, that will come part of the value mapping, not the key mapping, correct?
No, value mapping, forget about the value mapping. I'll explain that situation where.
Later, no, I agree.
Here we are talking exclusively about your primary keys, your object purpose. That
okay,
means
got it. Material vendor, business
number,
partner or customer. Got it.
Number, cost center, your primary object key. We are that's why it's called it as a key mapping. Key means key mapping.
Got it.
Okay, fine. So this is from our side to enable the key mapping for a particular object to a target system. There are three things that you need to take care. Basically two things. Okay, what is the first one? Enable these two settings, key mapping along with that update key mapping. This one. Okay, the second step is coming back to this one. Let me draw this again. The second important step. Okay, so this is your MDG. Okay, you have your T1 target system. Okay, T2 target system. Let's take example of material master. To how we are replicating, let's take example when you are replicating the material master data to T1 target system and T2 target system, you are sending MATMAS IDOC. This is the MATMAS IDOC, standard of SAP provided IDOC for material master. Here also you are sending the MATMAS IDOC message type. Okay. Similarly, for customer vendor also you have some standard IDOCs. Okay. So this is how you will be replicating your master data to the target systems. Okay. So if you are using IDOC technique, so this is fine. This is your outbound scenario. Outbound means MDG to the target systems. But you also need a response back for in case, especially when you're activating the key mapping functionality, you also need to configure additional IDOC from here to here. That SAP also provided that IDOC is ALEAUD. This is audit acknowledgement. AUD means audit acknowledgement IDOC. So whatever the IDOC you are replicating from MDG to the target system, it can be material master or it can be business partner, customer master, anything. SAP in general provided for every IDOC, if at all that source system that they need the confirmation, you need to configure only one single ALE AUD message type. Okay, if you configure this one, this for every outbound IDOC, system will send a response IDOC back to MDG system. Okay, so this you need to configure.
One another thing is that the acknowledgement depends on the client where we can say, is it a mandatory one or is it optional?
If there is no key mapping, if
Key
there is
mapping,
key
okay.
mapping, then only this MatMos and outbound IDOC is enough. This is not required. But if key mapping is there, right? How do I know?
Okay, got it.
How do I know the key that got the number that got generated in target system? I need some the target system has to send me back a signal that this is the material number. So that I'm relaying. MDG is using this ALE AUD as a acknowledgement. So that's
again here outbound IDOC and ALE are both are different or same?
Both are different. This is for material master. This is for audit acknowledgement.
Outbound IDOC is a different one.
This is, what do you mean by outbound here?
So from target to MDG. No, MDG to target. Okay, sorry actually.
This is your outbound IDOC. This is your outbound IDOC. This is your inbound IDOC.
This is okay. Actually.
Fine. So this is clear, right? So this is whenever you are working on a key mapping environment to set up that one, just simply enabling this key mapping and update key mapping doesn't help you. From the MDG side, this is fine. But at the same time, you also need to set up a acknowledgement back to the MDG. So how to, these are the different IDOC types. This MatMos is for material master. MatMos is out-of-box material type. For material master, CREMAS is there. CREMAS is for vendor master. DebMas is there. DebMas is customer master. Okay. So for BP also you have something. Okay, some BAPI is there. Okay. So as like this, for acknowledgements also SAP provided ALE AUD. Okay. So all these are the different IDOCs that you will be configuring between two SAP systems. How to configure that, I will take a separate session. For now, assume that you already configured. So this is one outbound IDOC and corresponding to that one, ALE AUD. As a second step, mandatorily, you need to configure if at all you wanted to use the key mapping functionality. Clear? Similarly, between T2 to MDG also, if at all you wanted to use the key mapping, you need to set up, because both are two separate systems. So the IDOC configurations are always between MDG to one target system, again MDG to another target system. So here also you need to configure. Okay. Is this clear?
Yes.
Okay. So that is about key mapping and update key mapping thing. This storage, I'll explain it again later. I don't want it to introduce a flood with all the different concepts in one shot. Okay. So
one another thing.
Yes.
So do we have any other list of, like, you have provided MatMos and CREMAS and MAS and all, right? So do we have any other list of master data IDOC for across all our
that we can
domain?
get it not handy, but usually because we regularly configure these things, right? So these are the ones that usually on there on my top of my mind. So I just mentioned it one. But apart from this, for cost center, profit center, for article master, we use MatMos only again. Equipment, functional location also. There are IDOCs are there. Message types are already there. SAP provided for every object. We can Google and Google that one. But regularly we use MatMos, CREMAS, DebMas. So that's why I just mentioned here. Okay, fine. So coming back to our configuration, till now we are discussing about when you are defining a business system, what are the settings that you need to mention. So that's where we mentioned the object type, the communication channel, IDOC technique, key mapping we mentioned. Okay. So here, if you specify not defined, that means there is no key mapping, there is no ALE, AUD, nothing, no acknowledgement, nothing. It's always outbound. Okay. But here we are assuming that the source and target keys are same. Then only you will keep it like this. If both are different, for sure we have to suggest and enable this key mapping setting. Okay. But now there is one more thing is also there, harmonized. Harmonized means we know that it's the same keys. For that one, SAP already provided this setting. not defined. But why separately again provided this one? What is the difference between harmonized versus not defined? Okay, so let me explain that. Not defined means there is no key mapping usage at all. That means there is no update to your key mapping table. But if you specify here harmonized, of course, harmonized means no key mapping only. But what I understood, my observation is when you specify this harmonized key, this one, system will still make entry into your key mapping table like MDG, material number is 100, and a T1 target system, again material number is 100. Though the keys are same, it will just simply maintain that entries. Okay. In a specific use case, why we need to do this one? Can you think of? You got the point, right? When you say harmonized, though the key, that means keys are same, but still system will make an entry into your key mapping table with the same key values.
So you mean to say it is external number we are using? Even though we are
External
using
number
external.
only, same keys
Okay.
means obviously it has to be external number in the target system.
Okay.
But why, in what scenarios you think that this is helpful? Okay, so let me explain that. But you understood that one, right? Why SAP provided separately harmonized. Okay, when you specify harmonized, system will make, though the key is same, it will make the again one more entry into your key mapping table. Let's take one scenario. You have your MDG system. This is your T1 target system, T2 target system, T3 target system. It's a best practice. That's what I wanted to explain here. Okay, now I need a key mapping here, and I also wanted to enable the key mapping between these two things. Here, it's a harmonized scenario. That means you create a material 100, the material number is here 100, here the material number is 200, here the material number is 300. Now, if you specify it as a harmonized, that means here, if you specify it as a harmonized, then what happens is, we know that in your key mapping table, the entries will be like this: MDG, the key is 100, T2 target system, key is 200, T3 target system, key is 300. This is fine, we know this one, okay, because of the key mapping. So if you specify harmonized here, as I said, system will make entry like this, T1 and 100. Okay, now why I need to specify here it's a key harmonized. Even if you don't specify, and if you specify like no key mapping only, there is no issue, absolutely. Look at this. If I specify harmonized for T1 system, this is how your key mapping table look like. If I specify with a T1 target system without no key mapping, the table will look like this. Okay, so now, can you see any difference between both these tables? Do you see any difference?
T1 system not mapped.
Yeah, okay. So why here, usually what happens is, if you enable the harmonized setting for T1 system, on the left-hand side, you see this table. Okay, that means whoever is going into your search key mapping table, and if they search with your material number 100, they will get to see all these values. That means in one shot, in one transaction, one view, you will see all the keys of your landscape, all from different systems, all the target systems. Whether it is, some of them might be same, some of them might be different, but you will have a single view at a glance. But if I don't enable this harmonized, and if I say specify no key mapping, then if I open that search application, it will show me like this. Then here I don't have any visibility. What is the key of target T1 system? The person has to remember, okay, it's 100. If the entry is not there, it's 100. That he has to remember, the business users. But in this case, Users no need to remember. They will open and they'll see the keys. Basically, you are showing all the keys in one place. Did you understand what I'm trying to say?
Yes, sir. Purely based on the business people requirement.
Exactly. See, this is also correct. This is also correct. But as per my experience, I always prefer like this. Why? Because if I go and search with my material number 100, I will see all the keys of the different target systems, whether same or different. That's the only intention. Okay. So it's a best practice. But otherwise, that is about key mapping. I just wanted to, you may get why you have three options. We discussed about only two. One is either make the entry into that one or no, not to make the entry. But the other option is also the harmonized. Same key, the value will get inserted into the table. Okay, so that's what this is about the key mapping scenario. Okay, now coming back to then this is clear to everyone, right? Key mapping thing. So
Yes.
yeah, so from our side, you don't need to write any code, nothing. You need to just, when you're defining your target system, right? Because when you're setting up this DRF, you will be working with multiple target systems. So you need to understand that, okay, because if you know this key mapping functionality, then obviously when you're setting up your DRF settings, you can take a call that depends on the keys. You can enable these settings accordingly. If everywhere in your entire project landscape, the keys are same, because I worked both the situations. Also, I worked in one of the organization where they are replicating the data from MDG to 7 target systems, and the keys are same. All the material numbers same across all the 7 plus 1 MDG 8 systems. So we never enabled key mapping because it's the same keys. So everyone knows that, okay, it's the same key referred everywhere in SAP and non-SAP systems in the landscape. But there are other customers where some systems where the keys are different, some systems where keys are same. So in that case, we enabled this key mapping everywhere, but wherever its keys are same, we selected it as harmonized. Wherever keys are different, we selected it as a key mapping. But if you go and search with that search application, you will see all the keys at one glance. That's it. Okay. So from our side, you need to just enable these two settings, and depends on your here. If you are using an IDOC replication, so then you need to enable the ALE AUD. ALE AUD. If you are using SOA replication, then in the SOA replication, automatically it's in the same request, you will have request outbound and at the same time request inbound, confirmation inbound. Okay, so I'll explain that SOA later. But there also here in MD, if you're using IDOC, it's a additional activity. But when you're using SOA replication, basis automatically configure between MDG and target system like this. That basis will automatically do, irrespective of whether you enable key mapping or not, when they're setting up the SOA replication. So in the SOA replication, you will have one replication contains two things, two activities. One is, this is your MDG and this is your target system, right? So from here to here, it will be in the same message, it contains request out. And in the same message, it will also send the confirmation in. Okay, so this together one request if you are using SOA. So that's why there is no separate configuration you need to do. Basis will do both request out and confirmation in. So in the confirmation in, you get the key value, that key of the target system. And for file-based and RFC-based, you don't have all these concepts. Only for SOA and IDOC only, you have this functionality. Okay. Fine. So
one quick question. So when we get the keys back from the target system back into the MDG, and if the formatting or anything of a different shape or form, will that have any effect on any code, any changes in the MDG side, so that it can accommodate the keys from the target system?
No, nothing. So it will come in the standard format only, and it will store standard format in the sense you are right. Actually, in the search, right, it will store both. Okay. Let's say, for example, you have a material number 2233. Okay, this is the material number. Okay, so it will store 2233. At the same time, it will also store 00. If the length is 18 characters, right? It will store all these 14 characters with this one, and at the end, it will store 2233. So both the formats it will store. So you can search with either this format or this format. Internal format, external formats. So when I open this application, you will understand better this search key mapping thing. You can search with preceding leading zeros, prefix leading zeros. You can search with exactly with the same number also.
Yeah, search is okay, but then if I maintain MDG as a number, and then that goes to the target system gives me a character, something like finished good starting with F001 or something, and then when it comes back to MDG, will it accommodate, or will it be okay? I think it's not going into MDG
No,
tables.
I'll
It's
tell
only
you.
maintained in
What
the
happens
search.
is it depends on your key, the data element that is associated with your object. It will, let me show you what I'm trying to say here. You look at your material master, material number. I'm going to Mara table.
Yeah.
Okay, so what is the material number? So this is the material number used in both your outbound and inbound, right? So if you go to this particular data element, so here you will be having something called conversion exit.
Okay.
So this will be, you can see output character. This is the conversion exit. So it has that conversion external format, internal format, conversion input and output formats. So this will be used by the framework automatically. It will, whatever format you search, it will give you the result output. If nothing, like you can put star and search with your actual material number. That also works. Okay. Yeah. Fine. So
sorry, to complete that question.
yes,
So
yes.
when the key comes back to MDG, will that be stored in any table, or is it just only available?
There's a key mapping table is there. So it will, the values get stored into this key mapping table. And these tables are, we cannot remember these tables, and you cannot see those tables. The names will start with something called USMD, some 000, something like that. And these are the common tables across all the objects. It stores your object key. So it's not, these tables are not specific to MM or something like that. Okay. So it is very difficult to look at the data, just like how you are going to Mara table and looking at the data, right? The same you cannot apply over here. That's why SAP provided a way to see the same data in a proper, meaningful form. If I open this search key mapping thing, okay, I can drop down here which object I wanted to search. Product, that is material master, profit centers. You have something called again customer. Okay, so so you can filter down.
I think it's better to take that ability to change in system. Otherwise, you'll be confused. If there is a chance to manipulate the data, then it becomes a problem. I think it's better not to
first
get
you need to filter down this which object you wanted to search. After that, we are discussing about the formats, right? External format or the material number, even using UID. So you have different ways that you can search, and you need to input what is your business system, like MDG or T1 or T2, and the value. And when you provide this click on search, it will show you the data. Okay. And
if you skip that, then it will give you all the systems, right?
Yeah, if
you don't filter them, it will give you from all the systems.
That filter option SAP provided. It's up to you how you will search it. But we'll talk about, because sometimes what happens, we manually need to update the key mapping entries as well. So for that one, SAP already provided another application for us, like create and edit the data, key mapping data as well. So you have an option to search, and you also have an option to edit as well. Okay, both are there. So I'll take a separate session about these two things, probably mostly two things. Okay, fine. So coming back to our topic, so we in our business system, the last setting that we have is storage. Okay, so what is this storage? When we talk about data replication, DRF, right? So what do you think? That basically the data always, most of the time you think that the data will be replicated from MDG to the target system. This is your MDG and this is the target system. Okay, so between these two things, you are enabling the DRF settings. Okay, that means this is the outbound to MDG, outbound to MDG, right? So for this is when you are creating a business system, okay, by default, the storage is not defined. That means system will consider this system as a target system. What do you mean by target system? Target system means always the data will be pushed from MDG to this target system. Okay, but I also mentioned DRF means not only for outbound scenario, it can be for inbound scenarios as well. This is your source system. From here also, you will be getting the data to MDG system. Here also, you can use DRF settings. Okay, this will be inbound to MDG. Okay, so that means in this case also, this S1 system, you need to create in the same manner how we created the business system, right? So you need to create a source system. And from the source system, you are getting the data for material master. Everything remains same. But now how do I specify this as my source system? You need to specify in the storage. You have three options. Not defined means it's an outbound MDG to the target system. Any of these three things, 1, 2, 3, means it's an inbound scenario. MDG out source system to MDG system.
We need to configure for both outbound and inbound for the same master object, for same object, business object.
Can you explain your question once again?
Yeah, so as you said, under the storage, we have to be choose that if we choose that, it will be inbound. If we choose not defined, then it will be outbound, right?
Yes.
So
yes.
there we have to configure for both inbound and outbound.
How do you configure both? It takes only one value.
We have to add one more line, or
No.
how it will be?
No.
Okay.
Okay. So
Okay.
see, the thing is that here, what I'm trying to say, whatever the business system that you defined, if that business system acts as a target system for you, then you specify here not defined. If the business system that you created acts as a source system for MDG, then define it as a either 1, 2, 3. I'll tell you what is the difference between 1, 2, 3. But if you choose any of these three options, that means this system will consider it as a inbound scenario to MDG. Data, that means this acts as a source system to MDG. And where only this you will change to 1, 2, 3 only if you have a requirement where you also need to configure the data replication from some source system to MDG system.
Yeah, actually, I was wondering why there was no from and to mentioned in the screen, but I think it makes sense. If you take it as non-defined, that becomes to.
Yes.
If it is any other value, that becomes the from. That's where it is.
Yes.
I mean, it's slightly, convoluted way of saying it, but
Yeah.
I think that's understood. Yeah.
Yeah. So when you are defining a business system, let's look at here. You created a business system, right? Now what is this business system? Either it can be a source system to your MDG. That means that this system will send the data to MDG, or MDG will send the data to your system, this system. So you need to, in this landscape, right? You have two business systems. Okay. One business system acts as a source, one business system acts as a target. That means just like how we created target 1, target 2, you need to create one more system as a source. And that this is only if at all you have a need requirement where the data comes from some source system to MDG, then only you need to define this as a business system and do a DRF settings for this. Right? Now in this process, where I can actually differentiate whether mentioning here giving a name as a target doesn't mean that it acts as a target system. Okay, or you define one with a name as a source, that doesn't mean it automatically acts as a source. You need to put this setting, enable this setting. Okay, you need to enable this setting here that use 1, 2, 3, either 1 or 2 or 3. Then this system acts as a source system for your MDG. That is a setting. This is only one setting. You need to, that's the difference between source and target. If you mention it as your source system, okay, that means if key mapping is enabled, right? What are the keys that the source system is sending to MDG? Again, it will go and look up into your key mapping table. It will replace the incoming key with the MDG key, and it will get posted with the MDG key only. So your key mapping works not only in your outbound scenario, in your inbound scenario also. Clear? If you are clear, then I will go further down and I'll explain what is this 1, 2, 3.
It's clear to me.
Okay. Others? Yeah. Now let's look at what is I'm saying in both if you choose 1 or if you choose 2 or if you choose 3, system will consider this system as a source system. That is the only way you can create a system as a source system. Okay. Now, what is the difference between 1, 2, 3? That means here we are talking about an inbound scenario to MDG. Okay, so now let's look at this is your MDG system. This is your MDG layer. This is your ECC layer. You have your active area. You also have your staging area here. Okay, and this is your source system. Source system. Okay, now let's look at here. If I choose 1, okay, if I choose 1, that means you tell me by looking at this diagram, whatever I'm drawing here. One means this one. Can someone explain what is this?
So
It first goes to the storing. So first it goes to the staging area where it's stored, and then maybe governance is required to take it to further to active area.
Yes, you are 100% right. That is what. So when you say staging area, that means here, whatever the data that is coming from source system, that will actually, it will go to your MDG layer basically. And in MDG layer, it will create a CR, and that CR will go through that all the business rules, your governance, approval process, everything. Okay. And finally, once the CR gets activated, that is the only time your data will be available in your ECC active area. And from here, your DRF framework, anyway, it is there. This is your target system. Your DRF setting will replicate the data to the target system. Okay, so this is about 1. Now, I'll choose the other option 2. 2 means you see here.
Without governance.
Exactly. 2 means without governance. That means there is no, whatever the data coming from source system, there is no governance. It will directly go and create the data in your active area by skipping the complete your MDG processes. Okay, SAP provided this flexibility. Okay, this flexibility SAP provided, if at all, maybe because during your data migration time, let's take in what scenario I'll go with this too. I've enabled MDG intentionally because I wanted to govern the data. But why SAP provided too? Because sometimes what happens during your data migration, all the data is available in your source system. Okay, so you need to send all the data in one shot to MDG system. Okay, so if I go through all the governance process and everything, that might take some time if the CR gets failed and all that stuff. But I wanted to send the data directly to my active area. First, I need to push the data to my active area, because then in that case, you can just change the settings to this one, 2, and once the migration is completed, you can revert back the setting to 1 also. Clear?
If that goes to the active area directly, is there opportunity later to govern it? I mean, if there is an edit option, when it again loaded into the staging area where it could be governed and then put it back again and then go to the other side. Is
You
there
can
a
fetch the
opportunity?
material, right? So once the material is already created in your active area ECC layer, you can again go to the search application, search the material number. If you wanted to do some corrections from MDG side, it will launch a CR process and all that stuff will be there.
Yeah. And if we decide to go to the active area directly, maybe the data cleansing, data changes, anything that could be done at source itself. Yeah.
Exactly. In the source,
at the source, they will do all the cleaning.
Yes.
And the formatting and everything should be done. And then one click, it just dumps everything into the active area.
That's true. That's true. Okay.
Yeah.
Now you are clear with this, because in both the cases it's an inbound only. One means it's a via change request process, governance process. Two means directly into active area. And you can always see DRF this setting, right? In the production you can change it. Initially you keep this like this, save the changes and run that, push the data from source system. Once your migration is completed, come back to the same configuration, change the setting to staging area. Now onwards, any new create or update scenarios comes, that will go via change request process. You can.
So this configuration changes needs to be moved from developer to production.
No, this one you can directly change.
You can directly. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. What about the third option?
Yeah, that's what. Now, if you're clear with 1 and 2, I'll come back to the third one.
One doubt. So whenever we choose option number 1, so we will get a CR.
Yes.
Right. So we need to we need approvals.
Yes.
So okay, that's okay. Thank you.
Yes.
Will that be a bulk CR, bulk mass change CR, or is it just going to be triggering many CRs? Or
it will create a per request one CR.
So Akshay,
now, that's a good point. If you are going with staging area, this option, if you are pushing 1,000 customers, right?
Yeah.
System will create 1,000 CRs. Okay. But if you are using this option active area, it will be like you get a request, like how many requests, how many objects should be included in one request, like 1,000 customers in one single request. So you get one single request from source system to MDG, and that one request contains all the 100. So basically you have that flexibility, but with this option, staging area, it will create 1 CR per object.
Yeah, I mean, I'm thinking.
Yes, go ahead.
Sorry, I'm just thinking the very purpose of using the source system is to, there's so many, so much of data need to be transferred across to MDG, or that's the reason they might have chosen. If it is just 1 or 2, they can always create it in the MDG itself and then govern it and then go properly. Maybe it's a bulk one that is coming out of source system.
Yes.
In that case, if there is a bulk CR triggered, a mass change CR is triggered, then all could be approved at once. And then, even though it's 1,000 materials coming along, it is just 1 CR that could be governed. And all 1,000 could be, transferred to the active area.
Yeah. So here we are talking about 2 cases. One is for your initial migration, you get the data, push the data in bulk from source system. That will come to using 1 or 2 channel into your MDG system, which is fine. And the other use case is in some of the MDG projects, what happens is, I mean, in an organization, people don't create the master data directly in MDG. Okay. So what happens sometimes, they already have this existing system, right? So this might be a non-SAP system. They use this some non-SAP system to create the master data. And once the data gets created in this one, that might be very raw format, probably the business specific fight and attribution only. But when you get the data into MDG system, right? So in MDG, based on this data, you will derive all other standard SAP attributes, and the proper material will be set up here. And this data will be replicated to all your downstream systems. right?
Yeah.
So this is your regular channel. Maybe in a day you can create some 100 materials, 1,000 materials, but this is your regular master data flow from source. So migration is done. You migrated all your 4 lakhs, 5 lakhs records. After that, also you will get the data on day-to-day basis from the source systems.
Yeah.
What sets ZaranTech apart in SAP corporate training? It's our unique blend of expertise and innovation. We offer customized courses tailored to each client's needs, ensuring relevant, targeted learning. Our vast trainer database brings you wisdom from the best in the field. Need resources? Access our extensive training material repository anytime. We are all about measurable results, providing detailed student metrics to track progress. And we don't just teach, we build community. Join our thriving social media network, connecting learners beyond boundaries. With ZaranTech, you are not just training, you are transforming your SAP expertise.
Okay, that's where you need to set up this interface. It's not only for migration, but because I've worked earlier. Most of the cases, the source where your master data gets originated, not the MDG or SAP system. That will be some non-SAP system. From there, you get the data into MDG system.
Yeah.
Okay, fine. Now, coming back to the third option. Yeah, any question?
Nothing from me.
Yeah. Now, coming back to the third option. Just look at this one. For the third option, okay, let me write this clearly.
Yeah, I think it will go directly. If it is good, data is good, it goes to the active area. If there is an error, that goes to the MDG and gets that rectified, governed, and then come back to this.
Exactly, that's it. Okay, so what happens is, I wanted to send the data from source system to MDG into my active area. Okay, that is probably for the initial migration or whatever, the same like your second scenario, second channel. But maybe you got 100 inbound requests, and out of 100, 98 requests got posted successfully. That means 98 materials are created successfully. But there are for two materials, system wouldn't create that material posted success. It's not posted successfully because of some data errors, right? Usually what happens if there is a data error, this might be your inbound request will be failed, right? It will be failed. That means your inbound IDOC or inbound server request will be failed. But you cannot correct that. You can reprocess the failed record always. But if you need to do some data correction, that you cannot do it. Okay. In that case, if I launch a CR, if I choose so what happens is, in case of 3, right? So those two error records, if I have a flexibility, right, to correct the data, and I can correct the data, and after that I can post the data. Because if you use the channel 2, you don't have the flexibility to correct the data. It will just fail. The record will be failed. Either you can reprocess the record, or else you need to ask the upstream system to correct the data and resend it again. Okay, so that means you have a dependency with the source system. But if you choose the third option, it will post all the 98 records correctly. There are 2 records got failed. Those 2 records, system will automatically launch a CR process. Only for the failed record, system will launch the CR process, and that CR will be assigned to some approver. You configure a workflow in such a way that, let's say, okay, ZMAT01 is the CR type which you configured. System will actually launch a CR of this particular type, and this will be it will always submit the data to an approver, and approver can edit the data. He can see the checks and he can see the errors. He can correct the data and he will activate. Once he activates that, right? So then what happens after activation? Those 2 records will be moved back to your active area. That's the option. Clear?
So if we choose third option, then what are those 2 records which failed? Those directly automatically it will route it to created CR,
Yes.
and then it will go for based on the approval, and then it replicate to activate area.
Yeah.
There is no other additional configuration required.
Nothing, no additional configuration.
Okay.
Okay. Now, you should get one doubt how system will choose this material CR type. In option 1, you can see in option 1 and option 3, we are using the CR type. Option 1, we are using CR type for all the records. Option 3, we are choosing the CR only for the error records. But in both the cases, system is using the CR type. How system, because there is no person, right? There is no person. If you are creating manually, you will open the NWBC. From there, you click on create button, choose the CR type. But in 1 and 3 options, it's an automatic flow. How system will choose the CR type? Which CR type it will pick up? Any guess? We discussed this during our CR type configuration, but you might not pay much attention because we haven't come across that situation. Now we have a situation where I wanted to know how system will pick up this CR type.
That baddie we have to use here?
No. So if you look at,
I think
yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, I think when we create something, then it'll allow us to ask which CR need to be chosen.
No, in
normally
the DRF configuration, nowhere system will ask CR type thing.
Yeah, no. When we are doing it manually, then it asks us. But if it goes in the background automatically, then I think we have chosen one checkbox or something where it default default CR type.
Yeah. So when you are creating, you are 100% right. So when you are creating a change request type, okay, if you look at this right hand side, default option is there. That means system will look up that the CR for that particular object. That is, what is that object? Let's say if it's a material master. Okay. So material master, system will look up that, okay, it will know that, okay, it's a material master. So it will try to fetch all these CR types and it will look at that, the one which actually selected as a default. See here, there is one CR type, someone selected it as a default. So then it will take this CR type automatically. You no need to write any logic for that. System will automatically use when you select this default. Now in this case, there are two defaults are there. Now system will know which one it will choose. So it always pick up the first one. When it is querying the data, it will take the first record, directly this record. Okay.
Always from the top to bottom first one, is it?
Yeah, top to bottom, first one. Okay.
First one.
Yeah. So this is the default behavior, but now this is the purpose of your default checkbox. When you are launching a CR type, if you wanted to use this CR type for your inbound interface data, then you need to choose that as a default. Okay. But if you are not selecting anything, right? So there is in your inbound process, SAP has some standard piece of code where it will look up into this table and read the first record. Sometimes what happens, they don't wanted to select it as a default and they wanted to code that one. So in that case, wherever they are reading this data, there sometimes SAP they will actually find that place and they implement an enhancement, and whatever the value that is determined by the standard, they will replace with hard-coded value CR type. But that is not required actually. If you select it as a default, this will take care of that.
If we have a multiple default material types, then hard code required. If you already configured here for same material master data, two default.
What I mentioned was when you have multiple CR types as default, system will pick up the first value. If you system will take this first value.
Yeah, that is fine. But when hard code will be required, specifically that particular material type.
Hard code is required in general. Let's say, for example, for this material type, I need this CR type. For this material type, I need this CR type. Something like that you have. Then that kind of flexibility, you don't have it over here. So in this case, what you can do is you can actually in your you need to write some logic where it is reading this data. There you look up your material type from the inbound request, and based on that one, you can write some CR type. See, for everything, there is a standard configuration. There is some custom logic. I'm just giving you scenarios. By default, this is the standard configuration. But sometimes because based on my previous experience where we have done some enhancement implementations as well. Why we have done? We have a requirement. This default is fine, but there I wanted to have a different requirement based on the country or based on the certain things. I need to launch different CR types. That's where that I cannot handle over here. It will always pick up only one all the time. So that's why we hard coded some logic. So in the inbound, you need to debug and find the place and do that kind of enhancement. That ABAP can do that easily. But if you don't get that, I don't want it to confuse you. But as a standard, this is what default purpose is. When something is coming via interface, if you choose something as default, system will pick up that CR type as a default CR type for your inbound interface request.
But if you have to do the baddie selection based on any condition,
SAP didn't provide any baddie there. It's an enhancement. We need to enhance the standard object and do some custom logic.
Yeah, but where will you do that, and how will it know? Because maybe they won't select any default CR types, and then it needs to go and pick up the enhancement that has been done, and then it will go and launch that CR.
Yeah. So in your process, usually when this request came to MDG system, so there is a piece of code which will look up all your DRF configurations and this 1, 2, 3 settings. Accordingly it will drive, right? So there you need to write the logic. There is a method, class and method, default, determine default CR type or something is there. I didn't remember exactly. But any developer can debug that inbound request and they can find the place.
Okay, and then they can put the logic there to which CR to be picked up based on what condition.
Exactly. If you basically the thing is that if you have a requirement to launch different CR types based on different processes, this single default checkbox is not enough. Okay, but by default for all the inbound requests you wanted to use a single change request, there is no ABAP logic. Straight away choose this checkbox. That's it. Okay.
Okay. Thank you.
So yeah, I think these are the important ones. Today we spent good amount of time on key mapping and we spent time on storage, right? So we have now, you understood, you yourself answered explained that 1, 2, 3 things. So I hope you will be remembering this. And this means it's an outbound scenario. That's it. Okay. So this completes our defining the business system settings. There is one more, the second one, which is simple, not this much of complicated. The second one is define replication model configuration. So that is, once you complete these settings, okay, the second one is define replication model. Okay, so this
one quick question. So we defined the IDOCs for MDG2 target systems. From source system to this could be different, or it should be the same IDOC, or should be anything. Or
so no, let me.
I mean, it's been there.
Yeah, so we didn't discuss that, but let me give you here some picture. This is your MDG system. Okay, so to your target system, from here to here, you can choose IDOC option. You can choose SOA option, you can choose RFC or file, which is fine. Now, in this scenario, as on today, from source system to MDG system, only one option is there, that is SOA. If you choose the IDOC option, if you choose the option, the data between to these things, this IDOC will send and always directly put the data into your active area. There is no logic SAP. There is nothing where your IDOC will have that 1, 2, 3 options that we discussed. IDOC means, because see, first thing is the reason why SAP didn't include this. First thing is this source system, usually they consider it as a non-SAP system in general. Okay. From non-SAP to SAP system, always SOA is the option where you will have you can send the data to like this. Okay. Okay, but even assume that if it is an SAP system, okay, then if you go with IDOC option, this IDOC always inserts directly data into this one. You cannot launch a CR process. Okay,
It
means only SOA.
It's like choosing the second option directly.
Yes.
Option 2 on the
exactly. So the point is, when you have a source system and from source system to MDG system, if you are sending some data and you wanted to send the data using change request process, then this is the only one option that we have from the standard.
Yeah.
And
There is
when
some
automatic and batch replication will use?
that we haven't discussed. I said I'll explain it tomorrow, right? Okay.
Okay.
This is the standard SOA that is enabled by SAP. Okay. The other options, okay, other than this one, if you have any other options, if you ask me, the normal custom, all the custom process, like if this is an SAP system, it will create a file, place a file with the data somewhere here. Okay. And you write in ABAP, some ABAP program, right? And this program will read the data from this particular file, and it programmatically you can launch a CR, and which will trigger this particular MDG. So this is the completely custom solutions. Many people will implement these things, but from SAP, SAP you have only this one.
Okay. I think there is more work required if it is to be done by file or anything at all.
Exactly.
So is the easiest option to
see if you are going with the programmatical program, right? Custom program. You need to first custom program has to read the data either from file or some other table or something like that, right? And everything you have to take care. If you are getting some issue also, SAP doesn't support. It's you have to take care of that one. If you are going with it's a standard offered by SAP, everything will be SAP can also support here.
Yeah, and so is also preferred one because it may be a daily process. It may be just giving that material every day. No, that will be easier option than every day running the file, dropping the file, and then all those things will be more work and more problematic, I think. So one final on that question. So SOA sends the source system sends data to MDG. Is there any response going back to the source system like we do here? And
so as I said, here you will get a request in, and MDG will send a confirmation out.
Okay. Otherwise, the source system will keep on sending another one again.
Exactly. So see, in the confirmation, they will get the error like 200 means it's a codes. 200 means it's success. Other than 200, it will be failure. 500 or something. Like
that. Okay.
Okay. So
thank you.
Okay, so we discussed about, I think we spent good amount of time on this, only the first part, defining the business system. We will complete this replication model. Along with that one, we will talk about something called filters and value mapping. So if we talk about replication model, filters and value mapping, this DRF thing is completed. And I will, because we have here only one single system and we don't have that outbound and all these kind of things. So I will show in a different system for your visualization purpose, how the key mappings look like and how the data, if I create a CR and submit and activate, how the data flows from my MDG system to the target system. Those I will show you the demos in a separate system. Okay.
By any chance, this is all these target systems are treated as other systems. Is there any integration or anything of that sort of things required? Is that I don't know how they treat that in the project environment. Is it going to be like a treated as an integration project where these two have to be?
Yeah, so there will be you are right. So let me draw one more picture to you. It all how you are sending the data from one system to other system. What are the options that we have it here? Okay, so let's take example of MDG. You have T1, T2, T3. Okay, or for example T4. Now this is a SAP system. Okay, you can send the data using IDOC or SOA. This is a non-SAP system. In case of non-SAP system, if you are looking for a direct integration, only SOA is the option. Because most of the time, this non-SAP system doesn't understand IDOC. Maybe there are some systems which understand. But this SOA is a kind of your HTTP kind of call, right? So it can be a non-SAP system also can understand this one. It's a universal format, SOA. Okay, so this is one option. You also have another SAP system, but you don't have the, let's say, for example, this non-SAP system may be not, let's say, for example, you need to keep one middleware in between.
Yeah.
Okay. And from, if this middleware is your SAP middleware, like PI or whatever the SAP specific one, you can send here from here to here using SOVA IDOC. Okay, and middleware will take the data and it will convert into the required format of the target system and it will send. It can be either again another SOVA or it can be a file or any kind of thing.
Yeah.
Okay, and we also have another option, your T4 target system, which is again another non-SAP, because SAP to SAP always easy, anyone will do it. But with non-SAP, you need to think about what are the options that I have. One is direct integration, which we talked over here. One is via middleware we talked about here. The third option, you can place a file here, some portion. That's what IDOC. So after that, we also talked about file also will be there. So system will place a file in some folder. And if this is non-SAP system can read the file, it can consume the file and they will write their own logic to consume and create.
Yeah. So for the S4 side of things, there is a BTP platform.
Yes.
Is that in the middle portion of all of this managed through the BTP, or is it?
That is if at all you wanted to introduce anything in between, you can do. Like, see, from MDG side, MDG will trigger either IDOC or SOVA or file or RFC. From there, either you can directly send the data to target or add a middleware or use some other layer, BTP and all that stuff. That is up to us.
So in which scenario we can suggest to use middleware?
See, all this, see, the thing is that for it all depends on your customer landscape. So the target system you are talking, so now you take example of T2 target system. If T2 target system always can receive the data using SOVA format, we cannot ask them to go and take a middleware because that is an extra cost to the business. Okay, so you cannot ask them to use the middleware in this case. But if you have another T3 system, take example of T3, where it cannot understand directly SOVA or IDOC, that's where you will introduce the middleware, and from the middleware you can, because there are different type of calls will be there. Even like SOVA, there are different type of over internet you will have different type of calls. I'm not able to recollect these names. So those formats we cannot actually generate from MDG, but middlewares can generate that formats. So that's why you will introduce middleware, and from middleware is capable to generate that kind of calls, and it will send the data to target system.
So you mean to say that T3 system will not support support for SOVA services?
If it is not supporting, you need to add a middleware.
Add a middleware. Yeah. Okay.
When you say SOVA format, meaning that it's a XML format?
XML format only. It's an XML. Yep. Okay, I will show you that sample files, SOVA generated files, how it look like and everything in the system.
Sure.
Okay.
Yeah, I think by looking at all these things, from my experience, I think this all will be treated as a integration side of things.
Exactly, there will be an integration. It's not like, see, everything is not done by the MDG consultant. MDG consultant has to work with the corresponding integration team of experts, right? From MDG side, you set up a DRF and in the required format. After that, taking care of all these kind of things will be maybe some architects, or there will be separate teams they will do. You are not responsible for all these things end to end.
And there will be design for this integration as well. So
exactly.
Integration design, and then based on that, you enable these options as per the business.
Our focus will be just how to trigger the data from MDG. That is using DRF. Once that is done, how then the next part will be taken care by the integration teams.
So previously we discussed it, right? So from source system to MDG, when we send it like inbound IDOC, so once MDG will confirm back to the source system via outbound IDOC. So that where we can able to find it out, we have to monitor separately whether
we need to monitor if it is an IDOC, W02 is a transaction code. If it is a SOVA request, SRT_money is the T code. I'll show you that in the system. Yeah,
Okay.
but just remember that point. Remind me that point. I'll show you that.
Okay.
Okay. Yeah, sure.